Hello and welcome to my channel today. This is a variety channel where I cover a number of different topics and do a number of different things. And today I'm doing something that I usually don't do, making a cake mix. So the reason I bought this cake mix was because I subscribe to an online grocery site that usually has healthy foods, even some of them ultra processed foods. And I came across this cake mix. Well, I came across these two baking mixes, but I'm deciding to make this one today because key lime and coconut are some of my favorite flavors. I got this in the mail and I've had it for a while. Mostly I haven't cooked it because I looked at the ingredients. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about ultra processed foods because cake mix is an ultra processed food. But the thing that concerned me was that the first ingredient is sugar. Now, if you're not familiar with reading food labels, the ingredients are listed in what's the most ingredient to the least ingredient. So this cake mix has more sugar than it has flour. That's problem number one for me. It's not going to stop me from making it though. The other thing that struck me was this is a Crissy Teigen cake mix. I'm not super familiar with Crissy Teigen, but I do somehow associate her with healthy things. And so when I ordered this, I didn't even bother looking at the ingredients. I just thought maybe it would be a little bit more healthy, and it is not. I'm guessing though it's going to taste really, really good. So quick, why is cake mix considered an ultra processed food? Ultra processed foods generally include a lot of various additives like preservatives and ingredients that enhance flavor and texture. Typically includes preservatives, colorings, flavorings. For instance, if you look at an ingredient list and you see stuff that you don't have in your kitchen, usually it's an indication of a somewhat, if not ultra processed food. While the brand Crissy Teigen does make you think that things are sort of healthy, it doesn't in no way state that on the box, so don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a cake mix. I don't know why I thought it would be at all healthy to begin with. One thing that makes this a little less desirable than making a cake from scratch is that a cake from scratch would likely contain less sugar because sugar is also a preservative. And so there's a lot of added sugars just to make this stay fresher longer on the shelves. One sign of ultra processed food is that they contain little to no micronutrients. And micronutrients are like vitamins and minerals and iron and things like that. Another sign of ultra processed food is high levels of undesirable macronutrients. And those would include things like saturated fat, cholesterol, and total sugars. While fruits and vegetables can be considered processed foods, they're not ultra processed foods. Rather, usually they're getting picked at peak freshness and then preserved. Examples of foods picked and packaged at peak freshness are things like fruits, berries, fish. Examples of processed or ultra processed foods are pasta sauces with a lot of ingredients and preservatives, cake mixes, some yogurts, and ready-to-eat foods like crackers and chips and cookies, pizzas and pre-made meals, and deli meats. You get the drift. You understand what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't eat ultra-processed foods like I keep talking about on this channel. It really has to do with moderation, everything in moderation. And that's why today I'm moderating with a heavenly coconut key lime cake mix. Probably won't eat it all in a day, probably. So let's get started making this cake mix so that I can get started eating it. Come on over here to the counter. All right. I am not very good at making boxed foods for whatever reason. I never have been. I can F up a box of mac and cheese. So let's see if I can get this thing to turn out. First, you're going to want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And then you're going to want to assemble 2 eggs, a half a cup of oil, and it should be a neutral oil. So I would suggest a neutral avocado oil. I would skip the olive oil because olive oil is a bit too strong. You could even go with a coconut oil or a vegetable oil. It all depends on how you feel about what type of oils. And then you'll need 3/4 of a cup of water and 1 tablespoon of water or milk, and that's probably going to be for the icing. So get your equipment together. You're going to need a bowl, a whisk, and I've chosen a 9-inch spring foam pan. I'll grease this before I fill it. You can also choose between 8-inch pan. Actually, I think this might be 8 inch. This might be 8 inches. I didn't actually measure it and I don't remember what size it is. It could be either 8 or 9. This recipe calls for an 8 or 9-inch pan, so that should be fine. Or an 8x8 loaf pan, or you can make cupcakes. So it comes with the cake mix, the coconut shreds, and the key lime glaze. That smells so good. Set aside the glaze packet in a large mixing bowl. Combine the eggs, oil, and water and whisk to blend. So technically I was supposed to like add the wet ingredients and then add them to the flour, but obviously I didn't do that. The way I did it should be fine. Didn't tell you to use a spatula, but I think you should use a spatula. So it says to add the cake mix and the coconut to the wet ingredients. You can reserve some to top the cake later, so that's what I will do. Then it says to pour the batter into a prepared pan and bake it at the center rack following the chart below, or until a toothpick is inserted in the center and comes out clean. Don't forget to lick your spatula. All right, the oven is about 15 degrees to being preheated. I'll stick it in there. We'll go take some care of some things. I'll see it when it comes out, and then once it's cool, we'll put the glaze on. Put that in for 5 more minutes. Put it down the center. Came out clean. That'll have to cool for at least a half an hour before I can put the glaze on. When I make my own cakes and I try to put a glaze on, I usually get impatient and do it too fast, and then it ruins the glaze. So this time, I'm gonna try to wait. All right, it has been a while. So this should be cool now. Let's mix up the key lime glaze. For this, I'm gonna use a smaller whisk. To make the glaze, whisk the glaze mix with 1 tablespoon of milk or water and add additional if needed to desired consistency. So the way I always screw this up is I usually put way too much liquid with sugar, which essentially that's what this is, powdered sugar and a bunch of chemicals and additives. Drizzle over cooled cake and let stand till firm. With the glaze, it doesn't have to cover the whole thing. Now I'm going to take the rest of this shredded coconut that was with the package, and I'm going to sprinkle it over the top. Might be a little too much. Oh, whatever. And then I have some lavender, some dried lavender. I thought would be really pretty to decorate it with, just to give it a little pop of color. And lemon and lavender pair really well together. So, okay, we're gonna let that sit now for about 15-20 minutes so that the glaze can set, and then we'll take a slice. Okay, that cake is supposed to make 10 servings, and the way I cut it, I'm gonna get 8 out of it. Okay, I'm gonna taste this. Okay, to recap, I made this, the Heavenly Coconut Key Lime cake mix from Crissy Teigen's Heavenly Cake Mix line. Here we have the cake. Very moist. I knew it was gonna be good because it smells really good. It smells just like you want it to, coconut and lime. This is pretty good for a box cake. It doesn't give you that sour kind of taste sometimes that cake mixes give. Though to be fair, it's been a really long time since I've made a cake mix. I'd say if you don't like baking cakes, or you're not good at baking cakes, you just don't want to bake a cake and you have to go somewhere where you have to bring a cake, this is probably a good one to take. So it was $8.79 plus the cost of the eggs and the oil and the minuscule amount of milk. And you could always replace the water and the glaze for the milk. I don't generally support ultra processed foods, but it's important to remember ultra processed foods aren't the enemy as long as you don't eat a whole bunch of them. I say as I'm probably going to eat that whole cake over the span of 2 days. Life is short, eat some cake. I hope you liked this silly fun video. Thank you for stopping by, and as always, have a wonderful day. Somebody should be here to take this cake away from me.